Monday is here with us once again, and that only means one thing. The Tracker is live on Citi TV. Today's agenda is a little different. Today we are talking about everything that has to do with qualifying for the Olympic Games. So Agenda 2020, Operation 2020, you can call it whatever you want. And I have just the perfect person here to run us through the process, the preparation, the necessities, whatever it takes to get a whole country off the ground and into the Olympics. But like we do always on the show, there's a motivational video to set us off. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, I'll introduce that motivational video and then we'll get today's show on the road. Welcome back to the Tracker here on Citi TV. And today's motivational video has to do with commitment. It's perhaps one of the main reasons why we fail to win a lot of medals and perhaps don't have a lot of athletes representing us at the Olympic Games. It talks about staying committed to your goal, staying focused on the agenda that you've set for yourself. Check this out. Whew, that was powerful. If you quit, you would have quit a long time ago. And I have the perfect person here to do this discussion with me. Chris, it's nice to have you on the show today.
Thank you.
First time on the Tracker, is it?
Yes, very first time.
So for those of you who don't know who I'm talking to here, his caption will be on the screen in a bit. But Chris Essilfie was chef de mission to the Rio 2016 Games for Team Ghana. Today I'll be finding out what that job is about. The title is very fancy, French and all. We'll be finding out what that all entails. And let's get right into it, Chris. Let's talk a little bit about where your job starts as chef de mission in a 4-year Olympic cycle. When do they make that call that, okay, we've named the chef de mission, this is your mandate, this is when you begin work?
Okay, so let me just start by talking about why that appointment at all. Now, the International Olympic Committee, just like the FIFA and others, always want to situate sports outside politics.
Okay.
So then there was a need to appoint someone who is not a politician to lead teams for the various competitions. And that is how the appointment of a chef de mission comes about. Your role as a chef de mission is to lead the team. Now, in leading the team, there are things that you do both within the country and outside the country. Within the country, you coordinate all that has to be done amongst the federations or athletes that have qualified and will be going. You also deal with the stakeholders like the ministry and the NSA and other stakeholders. And again, on the outside, you also deal with the international games federations with regards to accreditation, things regards to qualification, things regards to accommodation, and other benefits that athletes are supposed to enjoy, including security. And that is how come the role of a chef de mission.
So when do you get the green light to begin your work within that Olympic spell? For instance, from 2016 to 2020, I'm not too sure if a new one has been appointed, but when did you first get your mandate or your green light to begin work, and where does the work begin from?
Okay, you get your mandate, let's say, about the latest 1.5 years before the Games. So right from there, then you begin. That's why you realize that the qualifications don't start just before the Games. They start way before the Games. And that is how come you begin, by monitoring all the athletes who have the potential to qualify and looking at those who have who have what it takes to actually be there in terms of those who will go through either tripartite arrangement or anything. So you'll be able to advise and also be qualified. There are many things that happen way before the Games. For instance, accommodation. It's a major thing. It's a major thing, accommodation in terms of where your athletes would be. Even when your athletes have qualified, you need to find out what sizes they are, because even the best, they'll sleep on, some will sleep on a double bed instead of a single bed.
These are really fine details.
They're very, very fine details that you go through, and you have to go there and even be, and that's why you make a trip, 2 or 4 trips, just to be sure of where your athletes will be. And for us who also want to go for pre-games, you also try and arrange a place for the pre-games to be sure that the pre-games will actually going to benefit your athletes. So you start, let's say, 1.5 years before the Games, and then you start your arrangement from there.
Interesting. Now, you spoke about liaising with organizations down here and also with international organizations. Now, tell me a little bit about what sort of work has to be done with, for instance, the ministry, maybe the GOC, and then maybe the NSA.
Okay, so the ministry, the NSA, and the Ministry of Youth and Sports, it's a tripartite arrangement to promote sports in the country. The GOC's mandate purely is to lead teams to international competitions. The NSA is the one that looks at development and then the
policy?
Policy is actually the Ministry of Youth and Sports. Ministry of Youth and Sports mandate to look at the enabling environment for the sports to thrive, and they also look at policy and they monitor and then evaluate. Okay. But having said that, whichever we find in the three of them, there's some overlapping of responsibilities, and so you work together as a team.
Now, let's get to the business itself of qualifying to the Olympics. Now, we've always had issues qualifying, and it's evident because of the numbers we've had. We never have too many numbers. In fact, most of the time when our numbers have been huge is because we've qualified in the football competition, and that contingent swells up the number. But when it's typically a track and field and sometimes boxing and stuff like that, our numbers are really, really minimal. So talk to me about what you found out with regards to why our numbers aren't up there with the likes of maybe Nigeria, South Africa, Egypt, and the heavyweights on the continent.
Okay. So to begin with, I think we as a country will have to change our definition of sports. It looks like our definition of sports is just football. That is the first point. The second point is that we behave like the one who impregnates the wife.
Yeah.
And when it is 1 week to the delivery, he comes to you to borrow money. When you know very well that it takes 9 months for the baby to come out.
Yeah.
Preparing and qualifying is a science. I mean, sport is a science. It's not, humanities, where you can just throw anything at anybody and depends on how you defend it. But it's a science, so that if it's not going to happen, it's not going to happen. And so preparation, it does not. I say that preparation for Olympic Games begin at least the 4 years, immediately after the immediate Olympics, at least is when you prepare. Most countries look at a 5-year, 10 years, or 12-year plan to prepare at least to qualify and go for games. Again, what has happened is that now it's changing completely. The way we qualify is changing completely. In the past, it was more of a particular tournament you have to go and qualify. But these days, there's a ranking. The ranking means that it's more like a continuous assessment thing, where on a monthly or periodically you go for competitions that are sanctioned by the IOC, and you amass points, and so at the tail end, where you are ranked is what is being said. A few, just about 10 or 20% is where you go for a particular competition to be selected. And so if we continue with the way we approach trying to prepare and qualify, where we are waiting for the last minute to throw money, just like we were having a conversation on the side, to throw money at qualification, it doesn't work that way, because it will be too late. Some athletes have had the opportunity to go around 6, 5, 7 competitions, and you want to go for just one. If you, as it stands right now, even if you go for one competition and you perform, you cannot, because your marks your will not be as much as those who have been in the system for a very long time. Now,
in the vein of preparation, right? The chef de mission for this Tokyo 2020 Games, Mike Agri, I believe, was appointed somewhere in September. And this was because Poacho, who was the substantive chef, had to be removed due to his involvement in the Commonwealth business. Now, how does this affect our Tokyo 2020 preparations, and does it afford us enough time to do what we are supposed to do? Are we handling things the right way?
I don't expect it to affect it. Because if you recall, I was also appointed as chef de mission for the Commonwealth Games in 2014 in Glasgow, when we had just about 3 months to the Games when Benun Mensah resigned. And there was a lot I had to do. But you see, it depends on the individual. You just have to understand, this job is not rocket science. It's basically your ability to manage, and also having a project management acumen. It should be easy for you to do that. So I don't expect that to affect, especially if there's been a decent handing over to Agri. I don't expect it to affect it. The only thing is, there are many things probably should have been done, and I think they've not even been done, and so it's up to him to speed up. Otherwise, then we'll get into problems, especially the moment you begin to get emails from the one thing, if you don't deal with the international community very well, especially the IOC and the Games Federation, you begin to see a lot of emails coming through, and they'll be prompting you left, right. Look, the emails can hit you so much that you get confused, and that is where you... So it's up to you to be up to speed with what you're doing. I don't expect it to affect us, depending on how he conducts himself.
Now, as chef de mission, you made it sound a lot like your job has to do with the planning around and perhaps monitoring of the athletes to some extent. I don't get the feel that there's a very cordial or intimate connection between the chef and the athletes. How concerned are you yourself about the quality of performances that athletes put out?
Well, there's a connection, but what I would say is that some of the athletes are known. In fact, the athletes are known by the federations more than you, the chef de mission. The chef de mission might have come from a different discipline background. You might not even know. You might not know those in boxing or pentathlon or anything. But it's up to you to go and start understanding and studying them. These days, the information is all over the place. You can go on the net and find out about Mr. Nketsia, what he's doing, or what has done, and it's easy for you to ask questions. I must say that some of the federations are also cagey. If you are the one who is always asking questions, some of them are very uncomfortable. I'm not sure why, but I am definitely concerned about how some of the athletes perform, because even when it comes to the qualification, sometimes I get concerned about how we even go for such a qualification series and competitions. I, in my time, literally brought everybody to do a presentation as to why it should be given the nod to go for a particular competition when we had very limited resources, and the Ghana Olympic Committee was trying to support athletes. And you realize that some of them, it's just a walk in the park. You're going for a game. Look, for instance, if we finish boxing, boxing is over to the extent where even if you go and you win, you kill everybody, you won't go. Why should I sponsor you to go when we are preparing for the games? True. And you have people arguing with you about such things. And I think that that's also one of the challenges that we've had. Preparation of the athletes and everything, yes, largely depends on the federations. But I think that as a nation, if indeed we do ask federations to present budgets for their programs for the year, then they also have a hand in helping to prepare athletes for the games. You don't, as I said, it's a science, so you don't wake up one morning and just go out there and beat everybody. And that is how come it's going to be. We've done this over the years. We always approach it as if it's a last-minute thing, but the last-minute thing will not work because it's a science. I mean, the science is clear. If you won't make it, you won't make it.
Talking about a science and not making it, let me just take you back to the Commonwealth, the Commonwealth Games in Australia. Now, we all know what happened in that particular incident. As chef de mission, you obviously have a lot of control and contact with travel people, blah, blah, blah. How do we, or even how does the chef play a role of trying to minimize the situation of visa rackets like we had the last time, where individuals who had not qualified to swim, people's relatives were, I mean, basically, I don't know how to put it, smuggled onto the official list. All kinds of individuals who were not journalists were smuggled onto the list. How does that happen, and how key is your role to preventing some of these things?
Well, I said this. Anybody who was, I'm not sure to use the word busted, or anybody who was found anybody who was busted and was found to have used accreditation of a sort, then it's the fault of the chef de mission and the GOC. Any other person who left on his own, I don't know, and I don't want to know. Okay. If you
once you left with accreditation,
because you cannot have accreditation without the GOC or the chef de mission. Yeah. So if what the question you're asking me is that, then what I'll say is that if you're a good gatekeeper as a chef de mission, we shouldn't have people with accreditation who will go without you knowing. It is almost impossible. Not almost. I think it is impossible, because at the tail end, there's a delegate registration meeting, the pre-delegate registration meeting, and there's a delegate registration meeting itself, where only you, the chef de mission, will sit down and go through the list one after the other. So assuming that someone smuggled your name into the list, on the last day, I will find out that you are in here, and I'll take you out if I don't want you here. But if I allow your name to go through, who am I blaming? That's the point. So, yes, if you are a good gatekeeper as a chef de mission, these things should not happen. As for accreditation, GOC is the only one that's what it takes to allow someone to have accreditation.
I mean, this is on a personal level. As a former chef de mission, you witnessed the commission work that was done after that debacle. The government report came through, and then there was a committee with Mr. Peter Podugbe and a couple of others on it. How would you rate the work that was done? And do you think that some of the recommendations that were put forward will address some of these things going forward?
I'll be surprised if it addresses those things going forward. What I can say that it's been an eye-opener to most of the people, but if they use that advantage, then it might help. They made some recommendations which were not carried through, but I think some of the things that affected their work was the apathy showed by some of the people, key people, and some of those people who did not really appear at all, and they seem to have a case, or maybe do not have a case. And so I'm assuming that they probably did not assemble all the facts to be able to make decisions. Based on that, it makes it difficult. But even that, I'm thinking the few recommendations that they made, the GOC should have carried out through and through. I mean, to the extent where we even have to vote. Yes, our constitution says that we must vote. That does not bother me too much. But the fact that even when we voted, somebody escaped, that makes me sad, because then it looks like we are not even worried about what is going on about the way we handle sports. Overwhelmingly, we should have just voted them out to say that, look, you've been involved with this thing. Even if you are using them as scapegoats, so be it. At least then you would have cleaned the system somehow. But then it gives me the impression that all of us sitting here are not really worried about what we claim we are worried about.
Does that affect the International Olympic Committee's rating and opinion of us, and does that go in any way to affect us during these games, such incidents? For instance, we've had the Australia incident. Going into Tokyo 2020, how do authorities and organizers of the competition treat us and view us based on what has happened, based on your experience? Okay,
treatment will not come in white and black, but viewing, yes, will surely show. Some of the things will come in a very subtle way you may not understand. And so when it comes to this and people are applying for visas, for instance, pressmen, you see a lot more scrutiny. You see a lot more people being refused as against being get. And these are the things that help. Even if you appoint an authorized ticket reseller, his ability to get people out there could also be affected. But if it has to be black and white, that one they will state it. And they won't state it sometimes, but it will come in a very subtle way, in my view.
Now, this business all sounds really interesting. And like you said, the chef is appointed to separate the games from the politician. What happens from the politician? It doesn't appear to me from where I sit that we've separated much with regards to politics and operationalization of the games itself. Now, this for me is because we always have a situation with funds where our GOC perhaps might not have enough funds for what we might need to do. Talk to me a little bit about funding, right? How much do you depend on government? How much is on private bodies? And how does that complicate the whole process of trying to get things done?
Indeed, what you said is very true. Some of the reasons why we have not been able to dissociate it completely from politics is that we kind of go to the politicians with plates to beg. It is because as a country...
Is government obliged to fund these things?
Yeah, government is obliged to. But the challenge is that we as a country have not set up a particular fund, for instance. If we had alcohol tax fund that is ring-fenced purely for sports, just maybe we may not be having this conversation, because that one, everybody knows this money is for that. But as we speak, we only wait till when we are getting to a tail end, and then we go asking for money. And you know some of the challenges we've gone through before, where we have even the GOC has even borrowed money because the government couldn't bring, and the government asked the GOC to borrow money, and they never paid, and they still haven't paid. And then it only took Neil and Tibandapoy to come and acknowledge that yes, indeed they owe, and I think a letter was written that they owe the ministry. Now, the Olympic Committee gets some kind of support from both ANOCA and the IOC anytime we are going for such games. The ANOCA brings money to support them go for such competitions in terms of how to qualify. I think it's about $100,000 or so dollars. And then the IOC also gives a grant that's about $18,000 a year for the 4 years, with some sort of about $75,000 thereabout. It's not too great. But these are all things that we have to use in more like preparation and qualification. So the GOC also goes out to try and see to get some sponsorship against what the government would do. And that's how we get it. But when it comes to the games itself, the government provides the, the airfare and then per diems. Indeed, the Uganda Olympic Committee also gets money from the IOC for athletes, a number of athletes that you have. And that one, they base it on your previous year's number of athletes. Okay. And then they pay you that money. That they pay in tranches, so you will not get the money from day one. The initial stages, you get, let's say, 1/3 of it. Okay. And after, just before the games also, you get another third. And then after the games, when you are done and you have not broken any plates, or if you have, they do all the deductions and then they pay you the last bit. So the government, we largely depend on the government for games. Funding, yes, and that is how come maybe the politicians also have so much control.
Now, today's conversation for me is all about details. And one of the details I want to find out about, especially relating to funding, is how do you set up a games village, for instance, for a Team Ghana? How are per diems distributed? How's camp generally overseen and conducted?
Okay, so I'll talk about what I know, what I did, and I thought was an ideal situation to handle, and so you don't run into problems. In the first place, per diems are paid by the government. Okay. I and my team at the time, nobody touched money. No.
So there's a government head of delegation there who handles the government.
At my time, the deputy minister was there with the purse holder. Okay. All I do is that I have my list. Okay. Nathan Kwao is an athlete, yes. So you pay him.
You pay him, okay.
Rasmus Kwao is an athlete, then you pay him. Nketsia is a boxer, then you pay him. Chris Essilfie is a high jumper, then you pay him.
Did you have government trying to smuggle on people that didn't deserve per diem onto the list?
You see, no, not my list. My list is done. There's nothing you can do about it. If you want to pay per diem outside my list, fine. But for me, when you come to the games village to pay my athletes, no other name asks, because I can't say, let's say Jennifer is part of the list when she's not. Yeah. I cannot. And my list is there, and you have it, and you pay them according to it. They sign for it, and that's it. So that's how come we paid per diem my time. But setting up the games, I'm not sure whether you're talking about the games village itself or
there's a games village for everybody. Yeah. Do we pick, for instance, where we want to establish as Team Ghana, or it's been picked for us? We just, go out there, settle down, and then get to your business.
Okay, it's picked for us, actually. It's done in alphabetical order. So when you go, Team Ghana knows where it's supposed to be. Okay. And then you decide, when you've been given a big place for Team Ghana, you decide maybe the ladies are here, the guys are here, and you pair some of them, you make them convenient. If you want to pair with your colleague, yes, we'll do that. And then at the Games Village, I have more like a headmaster.
I was about to ask if there's a code of conduct and stuff like that.
There's a code of conduct, and I have team meetings. Indeed, for me, day one, very day one, I have a team meeting. I tell everybody I am in charge.
This involves everybody.
Everybody,
technical men.
Everybody. You come there and I tell you. My first center, my name is Chris Essilfie. I am in charge. I will remain in charge, and I will be in charge.
Establishing the order.
Yeah. So then we begin to understand, and I say, look, you report. This is a reporting line. Okay. And I have meetings with the coaches and everybody all the time. And my medical team, I demand the medical status of every athlete every day.
Wow.
These are some of the things that are very stringent. But some find it too.
Reports from the coaches.
From the coaches. No, the medical.
Okay.
Apart from the coaches, the medical. Okay. You tell me, because we've had a situation before, 2012. Remember, a boxer who had a jaw and went to. I don't want to get into any of those things. So basically, all is that, look, I need to know the status, at least the status of every athlete every day, whether it's a knock, whether it's an injury, whether it's a bruise. I just need to understand so that we don't get into problems. So that's how we set up the village, which is already chosen for us. There's an office, there's a medical place where I keep my eyes on. The media person also has to report and tell me which interviews he's going to grant, which people have been invited. He comes to me, so VOA wants to interview you, BBC wants to interview you, depending on your timing and which one you really want to go to. You go and talk about it.
Are there rare circumstances that demand athletes to perhaps leave the game village? Are you restricted to the games village during the competition, or you are free to go out shopping, roaming the city?
Well, you are free to go out. Nobody stops you. But for me, I give specific instructions. If you have to leave, someone must know. Okay. And at the time when we went with younger ones, like the 2016 Olympic Games, where I went with Abeku and others. Yeah. You have to go through, and there will maybe an adult who accompany you if there need be. And that's how we run. If you have to go out of the Games Village, then maybe your accreditation has been revoked.
Interesting stuff there. So we are finding out from Chris Essilfie, who is a former chef de mission to the 2016 Rio Games. He's been giving us a breakdown of what it takes to get this job done and the background stuff that go into making an Olympic participation complete. When we come back, we'll ask him a few more things. His highlights from 2016 when he was chef. We'll talk about journalist accreditation. It looks like our colleagues here in Ghana don't get a lot of accreditation. We'll be asking him exactly why and a few other things before we take the show home on the tracker. So we'll take a quick break here. Do stay with us here on Citi TV. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the tracker here on Citi TV. We're also live on DSTV channel 363. So get out there and join the action. Let's get to a report that was first aired about a year and a half ago. It basically borders on the facilities that are available to our athletes to work with in preparation for the Olympic Games and generally big competitions out there. This was solely focusing on the Tokyo 2020 Games, what we had engaged in as far as preparations back then, where we are now in terms of what's going on. So I was put together by my colleague Nketsia. He will check this out.
Team Ghana's participation at the Rio 2016 Olympics was heralded the personal best Olympics. It was supposed to be the competition that would offer the country's budding talents the opportunity to field the competition in readiness to take over the world in Tokyo 2020. On the surface, it made sense. 6 of Ghana's 40-member contingent were below age 16. Experienced athletes like sprinter Janet Amponsa and middle distance runner Alex Amankwa looked like they would be at their peak by the time 2020 came around. Sports ministers, both past and present, bought into the mantra, Operation Win Medals in 2020. But 2 years after Rio 2016 and 2 years to Tokyo 2020, officials have not put their money where their mouth is. The infrastructural support for athletes is virtually non-existent. The Elwak Stadium, the only national facility to feature tartan running tracks in Accra, is in a sorry state. The old tracks, tired from the overuse, have now begun to peel off. This is the state of the tartan tracks at the Elwak Sports Stadium, the only running track available in the whole of the Greater Accra region. And it's basically made of potholes. Have a look at this. And all of this, it's only a matter of time because all this completely peels off. And there's many more like this across the country. Low-class facilities that we expect our athletes to train on and win medals at the global stage. Are we giving them the best possible competitive advantage by providing them these sort of facilities to train on? I think not. Nadia Ike, African triple jump champion from Durban in 2016, is one of those the country is banking hopes on to win medals in 2020. But she says facilities in the country, such as the Elwak Sports Stadium, has made it impossible for her to progress.
I mean, honestly, the way it is here, it's almost impossible to train. And so everyone always says, oh, if you want to compete for Ghana, you know, why? I've actually on my Facebook page, a lot of people always make comments like things like that, like, why is it that our own athletes are not training at home and stuff? It's because we don't have the facilities to do so.
New athletes have emerged since Rio 2016 to become potential medalists in Tokyo. 19-year-old Ho Halutie's performance at the Commonwealth Games and the African Championships has everyone excited about her future. But the country has been here before. Budding talents emerge, giving the country glimpses of glorious future. Then they fade off without a trace. Martha Bisa is a classic example. For General Secretary of the Ghana Athletics Association, Bawa Fuseni, the margin between talent and result lies in adequate investment in preparations.
But all these things cannot materialize if we as a nation do not prepare these athletes very well. They can always qualify on their own, but the preparation towards this competition is always the challenge. So if we, once as the state wants to win a medal at these Olympic Games in Tokyo, then we have to put more resources into the athletes so that they're able to prepare adequately for that.
Since Ghana made its Olympics debut in Helsinki, Finland in 1952, the country has racked up 14 appearances at a global multi-sport event. Team Ghana has sent over 1,400 athletes to the Games since that time and have only 3 bronze medals to show for it. The Ghana Olympic Committee President Benunu Mensah is crying out for investment, the only way he believes the country can turn around its abysmal performances at the Games.
So from now to 2023, I think that as a people, as a country, we need to start investing in you. And when I say investing in you, making it possible for you to go to as many training or as many competitions as possible, helping you with your scholarship programs, helping with your educational programs, and making sure that you're being taken good care by doctors and physiotherapists, and then you focus on your training.
While all facilities desperately need renovation, government has launched an ambitious sports infrastructure project, commencing the construction of 10 multi-purpose youth resource centres across the country. They're expected to be completed in December 2018. And for Sports Minister Isaac Nketsia, that is the solution to the country's Olympic woes.
Because the fact of the matter is that Ghana doesn't have enough sporting facilities. Travel across the world, you will see countries. Wherever you go, simple sporting, decent ones are there. We don't have enough. We need to do more to get more sporting facilities. Because you see, over the years, if sports has declined in this country, it's because of this. We are destroying all the spaces we have for sports. This is a time for us to obviously secure the future of sports through these investments.
With barely 2 years to the Games in Tokyo, the plan to win medals appears a shaky one, if there was any plan at all. For now, we can only stay cautiously optimistic that medals will actually be won, although history tells us another monumental failure awaits the country if what officials have done in the last 2 years is what they intend to replicate in the remaining 2 leading to the Games.
Is that resounding enough? We are heading for another monumental crash if we've been paying lip service and launching without any proper follow-throughs. Now, Chris, you've had the privilege of being with these athletes. Over the years, a few sports a few disciplines have stood out as those that give us medals, even when, expectations are not too lofty. What are our, if I should say, goodwill disciplines, and why should we not be concentrating on those instead and leaving out all the other periphery ones?
Okay, so you're right. Let me just take the last 3 Olympics, for instance. We've had 9, and then 16.
Yeah.
And in all, the first 3, athletics was 3, and the rest were boxing. No, athletics was 3 again, the rest were boxing. And then this time athletics was 11, and there was boxing. There was an unusual one like weightlifting and then swimming. So clearly you can see that boxing and athletics are consistent. And of course, boxing in many ways, Ghana has excelled in boxing if you look at even the professional angle. Even though we call football the passion.
Boxing is our flagship sport, if we are being honest.
Yes, boxing is the one which has actually taken us there. And you realize that gradually athletics are increasingly those who are, as we speak right now, we only have 2 athletics, 2 people have qualified. No other person has qualified so far. So whichever way you look at it, athletics is always there and boxing is always there. It will not be fair to say don't touch the other disciplines. But I think that when we come to the tail end, when we are actually pressed with resources,
prioritizing funds,
then it is important to look at the ones that we have the potential to qualify and make a presentation. I think that for athletics, for instance, I find the relay teams had a clear and a very clean opportunity of qualifying in Doha for the World Championships, where
we're all really excited.
Exactly. The only thing is that is to go in and get into the final, and irrespective of your time, you qualify. They didn't get the support they needed, and so now they will have to go through these competitions scattered all over, and that's a moving target. That makes it a challenge. It's a moving target because teams compete at various competitions. So once they get a time up, you also go down. Once you also come, you come till somebody breaks the tape, the final day, which is the 29th of June, I think. So that is where the challenge is. But I think that when it gets to this end, we should be. I am not for the person who says that some disciplines should be scrapped. No, because some disciplines will have people coming out to actually surprise everybody. But I think that when we get to the tail end and we are hard pressed with money, we should look at those who have been consistent, and some of the athletes have been consistent, and you see them. If you look at even the world ranking, it will tell you which ones have the potential. And I keep saying that it is science. It is science because if I did 10.1, it is likely that I can possibly drop the 10.1 to 10. Other than somebody who is doing 11.6, there's no way he's going to come near the 10 mark. That's what it is.
Let's talk about my colleagues and myself, journalists covering these sort of competitions. Now, from what I pick up, we have 2 slots. Maybe I hear we have 3 this year based on some extraordinary exception. Why are the slots for covering the Olympics so small, especially for a country like Ghana? And what's the system used in judging who gets to go to the Olympics and who doesn't?
Well, are you talking about slots for journalists on their own, or those going with the Ghana Olympic Committee?
Well, I know, for instance, that a lot of journalists don't typically cover because the Olympic Committee, I hear, have to accredit you. Even if you want to go as a private media house, you need some form of accreditation, and the accreditation slots are limited from what I pick up.
That is interesting. I've never known that they squeeze it that much. No. What I know is you apply to them directly. They come back to the Ghana Olympic Committee. That's what you're talking about. They come back to the Ghana Olympic Committee basically to find out, is it true that Fentio is a journalist in Ghana? Is it true that he works with Citi TV or Citi FM? And is he credible? And that is what you say, yes, it is true or it is not true. But even when you have sent all that, it is up to them still. It's in their hands to determine whether he's making it or not. Now, if he's making it, the accreditation will be sent to the Ghana Olympic Committee to be presented to Fentio. Because, see, what happens is that the chef de mission or the Ghana Olympic Committee is still the head of any other person who says, I want to go. Indeed, for the Olympic Games, if the president is not going, the vice president will have to go through me. But if the president is going, the vice president can go on his own with him as a protocol. Otherwise, you still can't go protocol to go there unless something has changed today.
That's how stringent they take these things. What's the... I mean, if you would know a reason for how these things are so tight-knit and so close-knit, why do they work with it that way?
Okay, so the whole idea, again, as I said, is to prevent the politicians for having a center stage. If the politicians are not going to have a center stage, then whoever will appoint is the head, and is the head whether you like it or not. That's the whole idea. We've had situations where I think it was Kenya, people smuggled taekwondo athletes and left, then and they got there. They all of them had to go home. And then they brought the real people to come and compete. So if you're a politician and you find yourself in there, you'll be found out. That's the reason.
Talk to me about, from a personal point of view, when Rio 2016 was done, when you evaluated your work, what were some of your highlights as team leader?
Okay, so I think that the major challenge I had at the time was to do with having to convince athletes about the payment of per diems. Because everything went well, smoothly, and fine. But for some of us, athletes just trusted in us. They probably would have done what you saw with Nketsia and these people in Australia. Because it's been every day where people don't believe in authorities who pay per diem as they will pay, especially when for some reason the money delays and they leave the games and they come home. Then you are forgotten completely. So we started in the beginning. I started talking about the fact that, look, money is to be paid because, of course, Honorable Neil Ante van der Poel had assured us that the money would be paid, and I believed him. So we had to communicate same. So we started talking about it, and it got to a point when the money was not coming. And they were, then they begin to come up. They won't ask, sometimes they won't ask you straight.
Tell me about how these agitators come up. Do they begin from the team leaders, or is there direct distrust between athletes and, let's say, people like yourself who are in charge of the overall operation?
I think that for me, what I experienced was that they only came to show concern that, Adi Ejudio, we believe you, but is he really going to come And I still telling you like to come because like I
the
can assure you
have done their own episode in Brazil where is the money coming? Is the money coming? Let's do something.
And I said it will come. But you see, one other problem is that you get a lot of pressure from us back home. The media will call them, have you paid your per diem? Even when the person is not even thinking about per diem. For instance, the young lady who came to swim, when I called the dad that the lady was entitled to per diem, he was shocked because like per diem, he had no idea. But you have people calling and asking, have they paid your per diem? You go day 1, day 2, you are calling at least asking them, have you paid your per diem? And some of them, to the extent that some of their leaders were not ready to even grant any interviews because the first question that comes up is per diem. And I think that sometimes when athletes go for competitions, we should allow them the peace of mind to concentrate on the games. But that would mean that we've also done our homework well, and so we are so sure that money will be paid. And that's where the problem is. So that's one. I think that's a job that I continuously had to do. And of course, at the time we met 2 critical things in Brazil. One was the Zika virus, if you remember, and the other one was something to do with criminals, gangsters were military. So we had at some point we had some gunshots very close to the games village. So anytime I went for security meetings, I was very particular. I come back and I organize a meeting again. I make sure everybody. So you had to more or less micromanage some situations just to make sure that everybody is safe, and that is what matters to me. Because you're taking some of the very young athletes to and then your dad, their mom, your grandfather, and everything. You got to do
parents worry about the awards? For instance, a guy like Abeku Kaya Forsen, do parents get in touch and say, how's my ward doing at the Olympics? Is it that personal? Or once you get into the professional environment, you are sort of cut off from home? Okay,
for these are the young ones that we sent. For Abeku, because his dad was there, and he's been to many competitions with his dad. I've even traveled with him to Nigeria before. We slept in a very deplorable environment, so it's not a problem at all with Abeku. For Kaya, I think that was the first time she was getting in an adult setting. His dad being who he was, he himself did not do a good job because I think that he unnecessarily created problems and tension. But I got a chance to sit him down and tell him that if your daughter has to come to a setting like this and you're not interested, you might as well not bring him because all of us have children like your daughter. We come here to take care of them. So leave us to do the job. And he apologized. So we went on with it. But beside that, any other athlete who comes, they are more or less on their own. I don't even hear from any parents. Yeah, that's it.
Now, we saw those really colorful pictures of the opening ceremony, Team Ghana doing their thing, Kente, blah, blah, blah. Tell us about what goes into that stuff. So, one, who picks the contingent that does the whole walk-by thing? And then what goes into, for instance, picking an outfit? Who decides that we want to do Kente or want to wear tracksuits? Those little details.
Okay, so for the contingent, for us, anybody who wants to go can go.
There's no number.
No. So the whole idea is this: if you were sewing an apparel, in any case, you can see that some countries are far more than Ghanaians.
Yeah, way more.
Australians come with all kinds of and so yes, the apparel we know our traditional things that we do, either kente or something. But in our case, we sat down with the ladies team for them to give us an idea what they think will be looking at historical.
This is how many months before the competition?
Who was about, let's say, 3 months before.
Wow.
It was about 3 months before. And so we went back and forth with the design and bring it to her. Because they must wear something that they are comfortable with. But of course, having said that, when you bring it, we'll vet it and see whether this is what fits our tradition and what that's what we sell Ghana as it should. And that's our come. And then we also choose a flag bearer, which I'm sure you're wondering how you choose a flag bearer. We choose a flag bearer based on someone who is an icon who can also motivate people and somebody who generally shows a good behavior and attitude.
Now, one more thing. I realized that, for instance, a team like the United States, Jamaica, they would be kitted, for instance, in tracks by maybe a Nike or an Adidas. I don't see this with us. And we've had situations where, not maybe in the Commonwealth Games and Rio, but lower tier games where markers and whatnot have been used to inscribe on T-shirts for our athletes at these things. How close are we to getting, let's say, a kit sponsor for stuff like that? And what's preventing us from getting it?
I don't think anything prevents us. And I'm happy you said not in the Glasgow or not in the Rio Games. No. Because in all these competitions, indeed, in Rio, of course, Glasgow, the kits also came late.
I remember there was a whole lot of confusion about that.
The kids came late, but in Rio, everything was done. We had everything here before we left. So there was a kids sponsor for the tracksuit, and there was a kids sponsor for just walking about in the games village. And there was Coco from Ghana also brought us kits in terms of T-shirts that you can identify with. So for me, for the very first time, you can spot a Ghanaian 100 miles away and see that there's a Ghanaian going as against a T-shirt with markers and others. And I think those things have largely a huge implication on the way our athletes feel even amongst others. People are well dressed and you wear a T-shirt that you can't tell whether
whose job is this to get our athletes properly kitted and stuff like that?
You see, it's all part of there's equipment which is all part of what the sports authority should provide. But as I told you, as a tripartite arrangement, so nothing stops the Ghana Olympic Committee if he has what it takes to also procure or secure such sponsorship. And that's what we did at the time to get Sunays and others come on board to support.
Now, finally, before we wrap up the conversation, I'm sure that, like we said earlier before, you followed this whole road to the Olympics to some extent. What's the one thing that you think we are missing that we should be incorporating based on having the prior experience and having hindsight on your side? What's one thing that you think we should have in place that could actually go ahead to make a difference for us?
So the key thing is that it's changed completely. The way we qualify for games has changed completely. So that if we still live with no money syndrome, we are surely not going to get many athletes qualify. Because this is a time where, as I said, like a continuous assessment, there must be continuously amassing points as you go along. So when you are left with 1 week or 2 weeks to the time, you can't go and hide somewhere and cram and come and pass the exams and go. That's the key thing. So if we don't have a regular, we are not waiting for games before we throw money out there. No. If we do that, we are not going to get many athletes to qualify. Yes, on their own, they do their best. But as to what the best can be, especially when we looked at the facilities. If there was money, even though we have bad facilities, some possibly will travel abroad to do 1 week, 2 weeks in some camps and then come back better prepared. I remember a female lady in Ivory Coast that I met. She beat one of our ladies in the Olympic qualifiers in 2012 in London. We were in Egypt. Right after that competition, they took her out of the group and another person, and now she's ranked 4th in the world. She's not even going for the qualifications in Africa, no. World, she's ranked 4th. And you ask, where are our people? She beat Our Lady by just a little margin. So if the worst case scenario, you see Our Lady also sitting at, let's say, number 10 or number 20. But where is Our Lady? That tells you we need to focus more and pay attention to what we're doing as a sport. Redefine the sports. And also look at how best we can. You see, this piecemeal approach where money is thrown when there's competition, you chase the ministry forever, you get or you might not get. It won't work. There must be money ready for you that anytime there are competitions, and that's also another thing where I think the NSA and the federations themselves will have to understand. Every competition that you have to be part of should demonstrate where it is leading you. We are not going for going sake. There are some that you go which is just to build the athletes. There are some that you go that to help build well. And then you also, the ones that you select, for instance, weightlifting. There's a gold category, there's a bronze and a silver category of competition that you do. If you go for bronze categories, the marks you get is nothing compared to going for even for one gold. I think it's 1.1 for gold, 1.05 for silver, and 1.0 for bronze. So the technical aspect, we have to understand these things, and then we know which ones to go for and which one not to go for.
Well, Chris, we have to bring the conversation to an end, but
Thank you.
I've been duly educated. I'm sure viewers have been educated as well. What you need to know is that Ghana's amateur boxing team, the Black Bombers, are currently in Senegal. 3 of them have made it through to the quarterfinals. A couple more will be fighting a little later today. They are on a quest to make it to Tokyo 2020. They want to be Olympians. That's all it's about. So do make sure that you follow the action. We'll bring it to you here on Citi TV as and when we can. It's on channel 363 on DSTV, like I said. So the tracker comes your way every Monday. Make sure you catch up with us so that we can bring you the latest from around the world of sports. Until then, we'll catch you once again next month.